So back in the day, this is how I used to do push downs. What I found with this problem, with this issue, with this angle, is I'm internally rotating with my shoulders and my elbows in a weird position. The problem with shorter ropes, you can't get full extension. So what happens is you, again, internally rotate. So what we want to think about doing is getting our shoulders more into neutral. So that way the humerus is on the outside, right? So we could do it with this longer rope and there's less internal rotation. That's a good position, right? Or I could do more of a dual. So this is quite long here, but watch what will happen now. If I take a step back, I can get my shoulders in a better position and I can, more importantly, tuck my elbows in. When I was bodybuilding, what I used to think is if I'm doing a tricep push down and my elbows are wide, I used to think that's going to bias the lateral head. What I've realized now is actually not true. What it means is less activation to the long head. So how do we get the long head involved since it's 3/3 of the arm? Well, we can tuck the elbow in. I'm going to pin my elbows in. I'm going to pull my shoulders back, right? In this position, my shoulders like way better. And I extend elbow, which is the function of the tricep, right? If I want to plus this exercise and make it harder, I'm going to kneel down. Why am I going to kneel down? Well, it forces me to stabilize more. So the more I can stabilize in an exercise, I upregulate the muscle contraction. Stability governs muscle contraction. So here I'm bracing trunk, and my elbows and my upper arms are being pulled back. That's all three heads of the tricep right now. There's nowhere to go. That's the lateral head, that's the medial head, that's the long head. Another thing I love to do to end triceps on is I'll take the dual and I'll take 4 steps back. 1, 2, 3, 4. I pin my elbows in, I stabilize, I brace, get my shoulders in a healthy position, tuck the elbows into the side and bosh, initiate. I do 7 reps. I take 1 step forward, initiate, 7 reps. Now they're starting to burn. I go to the third one, another 7 reps, right? This is where my triceps are screaming at me. Once I do 7, I finish off with the 4th and final, and I kneel down to force me to stabilize more. And then I just drive forward. Instead of keeping my shoulder in extension, I've got a little bit of shoulder flexion. And now they're screaming. So that's a really good way to finish a tricep workout. And more importantly, if you're short on time, this would be something that I would do. Think about it, right? If I go all the way back here, the weight's going to be heaviest in the bottom, whereas the closer I am, lighter in the bottom. That's interesting. So you can play around with distance, which is, by the way, distance is a part of progressive overload. Here's an example. One thing about progressive overload, everyone thinks that progressive overload is like go heavier, go heavier, go heavier, go heavier. That's one way of progressive overload. I look at progressive overload as making a movement harder with the same load. So what could we do in this situation? Well, we could do one thing and change the distance of the exercise. How could we change the distance of an exercise if we're doing like a dumbbell chest press as an example? So let's say I'm doing a flat dumbbell press. We'll go real heavy. Look at that. We'll go 22 pounds, super heavy. So we're going to lie down. What I'm doing now is I'm coming down, right, biceps away, biceps together. Right, that's one way. Now, changing the distance of progressive overload, what I might do is expand rib cage more, right? Get my chest up more, which allows me to get more scapular retraction. Right, so I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together and I'm getting a deeper stretch in the bottom. Right, so that's one way of progressive overload, is changing the distance of an exercise.